Well, hello, Algebra crew. I am so excited to talk to you about solving linear systems by adding or subtracting. So we've already done a couple of things. First, we graphed. Then we came in and we solved by substitution, so we replaced. Today, what we're doing is solving by adding or subtracting. You're going to line up the equations. You're going to make sure that you're able to eliminate one of the variables. So if you can see here, we're able to eliminate the 2's because one's positive and one's negative. So we're going to get rid of those by adding or subtracting. Okay, here we go. Here's some examples. First, I need to figure out what I can eliminate. And in this case, it's just the 3. See, one's positive and one's negative, so I can add them together. If I do that, I'm just adding an addition problem. 3 plus a negative 3, well, those cancel. Those go away. I've got a 4y and a 5y. Since they have the same variable, I can put them together and get a 9y. And then I've got an 8 plus 10, which gives me 18. I just solve, and I get y equals 2. Now remember, my answer is written as an ordered pair. Okay, so now that I have 2, I can go back in and plug 2 in. Does it matter which equation? Nope, sure doesn't. I'm going to plug that 2 in for the y in the top equation. So now I've got 3x plus 4 times 2 is 8 equals 8. I'm going to subtract my 8 over. I'm going to have 3x is equal to 0. And if I divide by 3, I just get 0. How do I check it? Remember, you can plug it into the other equation too. If I plug in 0 here, well, that cancels. And then 5 times 2 is 10, which is my answer. Easy enough. It's the easiest one we've done yet. Okay, so in this case, I am looking and I see that the 5 and the 7 aren't going to cancel. However, the 6 is, but they're both positive. So instead of adding, this time I'm going to subtract. Now, when you subtract, you have to go through and you have to subtract everything, okay? Because it's like you're distributing a negative 1 throughout. So I've got a 5 plus a negative 7, which would give me a negative 2x. My 6y's are going to go ahead and cancel now that I have one positive and one negative. And I've got a 4 minus 8, or 4 plus a negative 8, which would give me a negative 4. When I divide by a negative 2, I get the x equals 2. Again, my ordered pair, x equals 2. And now I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to plug it back in. It doesn't matter which one I plug it in for. I'm going to plug it in for the top. So 5 times 2 is 10 plus 6y equals 4. I'm going to subtract my 10 over. I'm going to end up with 6y equals a negative 6. So y is going to equal a negative 1. Again, remember, I can plug it into both equations, and it should work out when I check it. All right, this one's a little tricky because it's a little messed up. So I've got to rearrange my equation. I'm going to leave the top one as is. And on the bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my y over. Now notice that sign in front of it is a plus. So I'm going to move my 5x over and keep that negative in front of it. And then it's going to be plus y, which is awesome because then I get to add. I prefer to add than subtract. Okay, so let's add these two together. 2 plus a negative 5 is a negative 3x. My y's cancel. I end up with, what is that, 45? Okay, and then I divide by a negative 3. I'm going to end up with x equals a negative 15. Okay, so now I have to plug it back in. Again, it doesn't matter. Well, I don't know 15 by 5 on the top of my head, so I'm going to plug it into the 2. So I'm going to take a negative 15 times 2. That's going to give me a negative 30 minus y equals 32. Well, when I add my 30 over, I'm going to have a negative y equals a positive 62. But I can't have a negative y, so I got to change them both to a negative 62. There is my ordered pairs. Now remember, again, plug it back in. So a negative 62 and a negative 15 times 5. Remember, that's going to be a positive, so it's going to cancel out there. All right. Here's what's next. Now I have some fractions. However, my 2/3 are going to cancel. Thank goodness. So I'm going to add them together because one is positive and one is negative. So a 4th plus 1/2. Well, I don't know a 4th plus 1/2. So I'm going to change this to 2/4 because it's a common fraction, or it has a common denominator now, and it's a equivalent fraction. So 1/4 plus 2/4 is 3/4 x. Those cancel, and I get 3. Okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to take it times 4 on both sides. So I'm going to get 3x equals 12, and then I'm going to divide by 3 to get x equals 4. When I plug that back in to my other equation, I'm going to pick, it doesn't really matter, I'll pick the top one because it'll cancel. So I'm going to have 1/4 times 4 minus 2/3 y equals 7. Well, that's going to just give me 1. So 1 minus 2/3 y equals 7. Let's move this guy down a little bit. I'm going to subtract my 1 over. I have a negative 2/3 y now equals 6. I'm going to take them both times 3. Negative 2y equals 18. And then divide by negative 2 to get a negative 9. All right, stick this back. Whoa. Stick this back in here, and I've got 4 negative 9. All right, last I have is my story problem. A rental company charges a flat fee of X dollars for a floor sander plus Y dollars per an hour of rental. One customer rents a floor sander for 4 hours and pays $63. Another customer rents a floor sander for 6 hours and pays $87. Okay, we got to figure out how to set it up. Okay, so I've got X would be the flat fee. So one company charges X for flat fee plus rental hours plus 4y equals 63. Same thing, I'm going to have X, and this one's going to be 6y equals 87. So from here, I just have to set them up. Well, one's positive and one's negative. So I'm going to go through and change all the bottom ones so that I can subtract. That's going to give me a negative 2y equals a negative 24. I'm going to divide by negative 2, and I'm going to get y equals 12. Okay, so y is going to equal 12. So that is my hourly rate. So per hour is going to be $12. Now to remember to find out my x, I have to plug that back in. So we're going to do x plus 4 times 12 is 48 equals 63. So I'm going to take 63 minus 48, which is going to equal x is 15. So it's $15 for a flat fee. And then it goes on to ask me how much would it be for 11 hours. Okay, so I've got my $15, I'm going to change color here, $15 for my flat fee plus 11 times 12. So let's do 11 times 12 plus 15. It's going to be $147 for 11 hours. All right, so here's where we're at. In Google Classroom, there's a Quizlet posted just for extra practice. You can work through that as much as you want, or you don't have to do it at all. In your packet, you're going to do numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That's only 5 problems. Then you're going to go back into Google Classroom. There's going to be a Google form posted, and you're going to work through that so that you are able to make sure that you are understanding. When you submit the answers, they're going to come out, and they're going to be ready for you and give you the answers back to see if you're doing it correctly. Make sure you watch this, because when we come back next week, we are going to have a quiz, so we need to make sure you know this and the work on 5.4. Have a great day.